Good afternoon. It's January 27th of 2024, and the current time is 1:38 p.m. Now, the question and answer portion of this local public hearing just ended. If you had questions about this rate case, I hope you were able to get those answered. If you were unable to get those answered, I would encourage you to contact the company, the commission staff, or the Office of the Public Counsel if you have further questions. Now we're going to start the comment portion of the hearing. The Missouri Public Service Commission has set aside this time today for a local public hearing in file number ER-2024-0319, a general rate case which is captioned as in the matter of Union Electric Company doing business as Ameren, Missouri's tariffs to adjust its revenues for electric service. My name's John Clark. I'm the regulatory law judge presiding over this hearing today. Now, the Missouri Public Service Commission regulates the rates charged by investor-owned utility companies in Missouri to ensure that those rates are just and reasonable. The Commission also regulates the quality of service and the safety of operations of investor-owned utilities. The Commission is made up of 5 commissioners. The chair of the Commission, Kayla Hahn, and Commissioners Maida Coleman, Jason Holzman, Glenn Kolkmeyer, and John Mitchell. The commissioners are appointed by the governor to a fixed term and confirmed by the Senate. Now, the Commission employs a staff of engineers, accountants, financial analysts, and other specialists in the area of utility regulation. With me today in person is Commissioner Maida Coleman, and all of the other commissioners are participating and listening online. Commissioner Coleman, would you like to make any opening remarks?
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate the fact that you are here. On behalf of Chair Kayla Hahn and our other commissioners, please know, as the judge noted, that they are listening in online and are anxious to hear your comments, your testimony, the information that you give us, and your concerns. We don't take it lightly that you are spending your afternoon here with us. We know that these issues are important to you, and we want you to also know that no decision has been yet made in this rate case. This is step 1 of the process that we use because we want to hear from the community. We want to hear from the customers. So I look forward to your comments and the information that you will provide the commission. Thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Coleman. Now we have a court reporter here who is transcribing everything that is being said so the commissioners and myself can review your comments later. Because this is a formal hearing of the Missouri Public Service Commission, I'm going to begin by asking counsel for the parties to enter their appearance for the record, starting with Ameren, Missouri.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Hernandez appearing on behalf of Ameren, Missouri. Our address is 1901 Choteau Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri 63103. Thank you.
Thank you, Ameren. On behalf of the commission staff.
Good afternoon. I'm Eric Vandergriff, representing staff. My information is with the court reporter.
Thank you, staff. And on behalf of the Office of the Public Counsel.
Good afternoon, Lindsay Van Gerpen on behalf of the Office of the Public Counsel. Our business address is 200 Madison Street, Jefferson City, Missouri.
Thank you, Public Counsel. Are there any interveners present? And I see a hand.
I don't know if you can hear me. John B. Kaufman. I'm appearing on behalf of the Consumers Council of Missouri and AARP. My name is John B. Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Now, for those who would like to provide comments today, and I've had a significant number of people sign up, these hearings have been very well attended. I'm going to call the names listed on the sign-up sheet in the order they appear with one exception. When I call your name, please make your way down to the microphone, and I'll place you under oath and ask you to state and spell your name. And then I'll ask you to offer your comments to the commission. Now, because there's so many people here and so many people have signed up to comment, I'm limiting comments to 3 minutes. I know that seems like a short amount of time. One thing I'm going to say is one thing that makes things move a little faster is you may have 3 issues that you want to cover, and 2 of those issues may have been covered by other speakers. and you may have an issue that's unique to yourself. So if that's the case, and somebody has already said something that you want to bring to the commission's attention, you can get up during your comment time and say, such and such said X, that is also a concern of mine, such and such said Y, that is also a concern of mine, but I also have the additional concern of, say, economic development in Missouri. So I'm trying to leave as much room as possible for everyone who wants to comment to have an opportunity to comment. So when it gets the 3-minute mark, I will let you know, and at that point I'd ask that you finish your sentence and then allow somebody else to speak. Also, after you've finished offering your comments, remain at the podium for just a second. Myself, the commissioners, or the attorneys present may have a question for you. If the commissioners have a question, please just interrupt me and go ahead. If the attorneys have a question, please get my attention, and I will let you ask your question. Now, the commission is not going to be able to answer questions today, and the reason for that is because they have to remain impartial until after the evidentiary hearing in this case, which has not occurred. If you have questions, again, I would refer you to talk to the company, the Office of the Public Counsel, or the commission staff. The last thing I would do is these things sometimes get a little boisterous. I would ask that when somebody's speaking, please give them the courtesy they deserve and let them get their thoughts out. Please don't interrupt them. Please treat everyone as you yourself would like to be treated. And with that, I'm going to call the first name on the list. Well, I'm going to call Frank Mugi? Mugi. I apologize.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Muegge, M-U-E-G-G-E. I'm a retired engineer.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn, Mr. Mugi?
I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
I'm a retired engineer. Would I like to enter this as evidence? Can I do that?
Yes, that would be just fine.
Okay. I have a lot to cover in 3 minutes. First of all, the Missouri PSC, they have a mission statement where they're supposed to be responsible for the public, and they also have an ethics standard, and I believe that they're not keeping that promise. Number two, Ameren, they closed both. They closed Merrimack plant in December of '23, and then they just recently closed Rush Island plant. Well, when they closed the Rush Island plant, they weren't forced to. The Missouri PSC could stop that, but they decided to do that. And as soon as they did that, they went to Jeff City with their lobbyists, and they went ahead to get a bond for $500 million to raise the existing plant, to raise Rush Island. Okay. They could have kept the plant up and running. I don't know if they needed to put scrubbers on it or whatever it was. It would have been more cost effective to keep the power plant running than for the 15.5% rate increase for whatever they're using it for. Okay, and plus you have reliable, low sulfur coal burning plant that has, if you consider battery backup for like a wind and solar, consider 60 days of coal supply at each plant producing maybe what, 1.5, 1,500 megawatts or 2,000 megawatts per plant. You've got a 60-day battery storage at a coal-fired plant as opposed to wind and solar where you might have what? I mean, you said you have 500 megawatts, within the big 10,000 megawatt grid that you have. 500 megawatts is nothing, and your battery storage is what, 3-4 hours for your wind and solar, where you have 60 days of battery life at a coal-fired plant. Do you understand that? That's more, and that's way cheaper than it is with this wind and solar. Another thing is you belong to MISO, and you buy and sell power on the grid of MISO, and with the closure of both of those plants, I'm sure that Ameren's going to be starting to buy power off the MISO grid, which cost an astronomical amount compared to what it costs for power generation themselves. And that's always, you know, and they've got the fuel adjustment clause, which is a joke. Anything that they add on, or they buy power, or anything that they do, it's just in like a slush fund. The fuel adjustment clause is a joke because everything any cost overruns is thrown in there, and they say, oh, you know, we needed to do this for whatever reason, but but they put it all under the fuel adjustment clause. And the other thing with wind and solar, you're just devouring valuable farmland, which decreases our food supplies. And you ever see what happens to a solar grid? I mean, a solar grid during a hailstorm? Think of your car windows, okay? They're destroyed. And I know for a fact, I've heard rumors that some of your windmills are starting to fall down too in your wind farms. So, you know, this is all public knowledge. I mean, I've done, as an engineer, I've done extensive research online and looking at all these things up, and it's just, I mean, I could go on for hours. My presentation would have taken me 20 minutes, but I only have 3 minutes. So that's my limitations. But the thing is, you've got low-cost, reliable coal power, and now that you've torn on these two plants, you shut these two plants down. What if we have an attack on our country? What if we have a terrorist attack? What if we have an environmental disaster? You have no plants to back up anymore. And wind and solar can't do it. And you're proposing natural gas plant where Merrimack was. There's talk about that.
And you've passed 3 minutes.
Okay. You're going to raise the natural gas prices for everybody else by burning natural gas, taking up everything the consumers need. Thank you for your time. I want to thank Sunset Hills for providing this time, and thank you for the police officers for what you do every day.
Thank you very much for your comments. You have, I'm going to take your exhibit. I'm going to mark it as Commission Exhibit 1 for this local public hearing, and it will be entered into the transcript of the hearing. And if I didn't say so earlier, and I apologize if I did not, all of the other commissioners are listening online. So the entire commission is listening to your comments. And I'm not especially good with handwriting, so please excuse me if I have difficulty reading your name. If I mispronounce it, please let me know. I've got Joan Weim. Weiss, Miss Weiss.
Yes. Do I have to?
And Ms. Weiss, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Joan Weiss, W-E-I-S-S.
And Ms. Weiss, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you are about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes.
And what would you like to tell the commission today?
You know, my comments, some of the comments that we're going to say have already been spoken to by the other folks earlier. You know, I just didn't understand why they can't use more profit. And apparently they do, but let's use more profit. You know, it just seems like it would be easier. And to the PSC Commission, do you guys ever say no? I've never heard of them saying no. Or can they make this rate increase be less than what it is? It just seems as if the PSC Commission and Ameren UE use the community as an ATM. Oh, we would like some more money. Let's just go make a rate increase, and we have all kinds of money to play with then. And are all these rate increases to infinity? I mean, if we get $17 a month now, and then next year we get another couple of rate increases of another, it's all exponential. It just goes on top and on top and on top. Thank you.
Ms. Weiss, thank you for your comments. Bruce Wilson? Mr. Wilson, would you state and spell your name for the record?
Bruce Wilson, W-I-L-S-O-N.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer the commission are the truth?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
I want to say I'm against on this rate increase. The reason being is, as a Ameren UE field technician has told me, is I am the last man, last house on the last string of Ameren UE. So basically, I get what's ever left, if any, electric. My power goes out anywhere from 50 to 130 days in a year. So in my view, why am I going to pay $15 or $16 or any type of rate increase if my electric is going out basically, almost once a week or once every couple days? So I don't see why I should have to pay for upgrades on power lines and power poles or any other subsystems or anything that has to do with electric if I can't get it myself. So I'm against on the rate increase, and I think the PSCs and even the legal teams should look at the rural communities and not necessarily just the cities or the suburbs or townships that are more populated density.
Wait just a minute, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Wilson. One of the things that we're always interested in as a commission is the service customers receive from the utilities we regulate. Can you tell me what steps you've taken with Ameren about the loss of power that you're experiencing?
Really, with Ameren, there's only one step, and that's to call the 1-800 number saying my power is out.
And how is the response, and what do they tell you the issue is?
The issues are at the specific time is usually undefined until a day or two later when they say, oh, well, it's a bad wire or a bad transformer. Transformers is a common go-to answer. Just recently, after the ice storm we had a couple days, and it got to the minus numbers before the sub-zero, or with the windshield, my power went out for about 14 hours, I believe it was, and that was on a weekend. Best I can do is call Ameren UE. Okay, they'll come out, diagnose whatever Ameren UE does. 14 hours later, I finally got power on, and it flickered back off. Another couple hours go by.
Has there been any information given it to you as to any special conditions that are happening specifically to your power? Is this happening to others in your area?
In my area, yes. I believe, Ameren UE said this most recent outage, there was 198 members without power. But in regards for my residents, as I mentioned, I'm the last house on the last string, so I go out a little bit more frequently. I'd say maybe twice as much as the customers or residents in that area.
Okay. My hope would be that there's some extra attention given to this concern that you have to see if there is a way to determine the problem.
I hope so too. I've started looking into investing in solar and solar power storage at my own cost and residence, just because the power goes out so dang frequently.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. I know we have someone else who needs to ask you a question.
Yes.
And so just so I understand, it's, you're at the end of a circuit, and so anything upstream essentially affects you.
That is correct.
Okay. And I believe the commission staff has a question for you.
I didn't catch your name earlier. Would you mind repeating that for me?
Bruce Wilson.
All right. You spoke to Ameren's customer service when your power went out, correct?
That is correct.
And you stated before that your power's gone out regularly because you're at the end of a system.
That is correct.
Has anyone informed you of your right to file an informal complaint?
Not that I could recall.
That's it for my questions.
Thank you, staff. And thank you for your comments, Mr. Wilson. Michael Smith?
Hi,
Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Michael Smith,
Would you spell your name?
SMITH.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you are about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
My comment is about the what I appear to be a discrepancy between the earnings of Ameren from last year into this year and into the future. It's expected to be 7.1% from last quarter. And compared to the rates of increase they're expecting right now, the 15% increase, it doesn't seem to correlate with either one of those. So what is the rationale for having a rate increase when you're making 7.1% from last quarter? Q3 was the number. And the expected to make in the future with glowing quarters, with glowing numbers, when you're raising up the prices. So I don't understand that at all. So my position then would be, you should be aiming for your rates that are more in line with the earnings per share, or any other number that is nowhere near correlated right now. So that would be my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
All right? Sure.
Steve Wolf.
Thank you.
Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Steve Wolf, W-U-L-F-F.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge.
Please go ahead. And if you have a cell phone, I'm going to ask that you silence it. It's disruptive to the people that are speaking.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Missouri Public Service Commission, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm disappointed that the leadership and board of directors of Ameren have pretty much disregarded their customers and neighbors, not only allowing air pollution that exceeds regulation for years to the tune of over 250,000 tons of sulfur dioxide from Rush Island alone. Knowing that the Labadee facility is the second highest generator of carbon dioxide by utility in the country. Knowing coal ash pits at these facilities allow toxic chemicals to leach in soil and rivers. Actually, I'm more than disappointed. I'm angry. I'm angry that my grandchildren, everybody else's children and grandchildren, have to live with all of this pollution that Ameren dumps on us. Moving on, Ameren had a profit, Ameren Corp. had a profit over $1 billion, that's with a B, last year, that being 2023. Their profit increased 30%, 2020 through 2023. How many customers took home 30% more income in those 4 years? And now they're asking for 15% more. Most of us are lucky to break even in the midst of high inflation. Ameren made more than ever. Other utilities are years ahead of Ameren. Mid-American Energy, just north of us in Iowa, generates about half of its power through wind and solar, mostly wind. Mid-American did this at no extra cost to their ratepayers, and their rates are 42% lower than the national average, which is better than Ameren. So the question is, if they can do it for less, what's going on at Ameren? I'm not sure we need another gas peaking plant. On average, electricity generated from solar is cheaper than gas, even electricity generated with battery backup, as noted by the Decarbonization Channel, sponsored by the National Public Utilities Council. Why go with a more expensive option for ratepayers? We need more solar panels. Ameren's been behind the curve developing wind and solar. You know, Mark Twain is reportedly to have said that he wanted to be in Cincinnati when the world ended because it'd be 10 years before it ever happened there. They were so far behind. Well, today, would Mark Twain say he wanted to be in the Ameren executive suite when the world ends? Same reason. 15 years ago, the Cincinnati Zoo, cooperating with local utility, covered their parking lots with solar panels. Yep, that's Cincinnati. They're way ahead of us. Although Ameren is coming along now, we do have some solar panels and some solar panels on parking lots. I just read in the cool down about a farmer who leased some of his land for solar panels. Yes, he made money in leasing the space above the ground, but he's very happy to say the animals grazing under the panels have more and greener grass in the summertime because the soil holds more moisture from the shade of the solar panels. We need a little more creative thinking from Ameren on how to do this. If Mid-America can add wind and solar at no additional cost, why does Ameren need a rate increase for more expensive generation? And I still don't understand why maintenance isn't an ongoing cost, why we have to have higher maintenance costs than is already in the base rate because the volume is up. I mean, how many poles is Ameren going to replace in this rate increase? Is anybody going to check the polls?
And you're at 3 minutes, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. They were very well structured. Joe McAudie?
Excuse me. My name's Joe McAvoy, M-C-A-V-O-Y.
My apologies. And would you please spell your name for the record?
It's M-C-A-V-O-Y.
I'm amazed you were able to sort that out from my pronunciation of it.
That's okay. I wasn't really going to come here today. That's all, first off.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
Well, I'm going to be limited. First off, thank you for allowing us to speak today. Ameren, I've had Union Electric and Ameren for a very long time. The service is good, but we're dealing with a monopoly here. And I think one of their biggest problems is going to be affordability in the future. When you have this particular increase is very excessive, and I think it's more. There's going to be more to come. This one is roughly 16%. I think it's going to cost me $28 a month. And many times when I see something like that, I don't even show up and I just pay it. But I got to thinking that, one, it's not advertised very much. We got something in December in our mail, in the bill, and you don't see hardly anything on TV, or where we get most of our news these days. Local papers and stuff, I might read them, but there's not much in it about Ameren's rate increase or utility rate increases. But I do see people being hurt these days by the increased cost of everything, and I think this is going to have a very big effect of this. We do see a tremendous amount of Ameren commercials on TV. And if I was producer on the TV, I wouldn't bring up their rate increase. Unfortunately, that's what I don't really see why you basically need so many TV commercials to tell you how good you are. You know, everybody that basically knows them pays their bill every month. And I think that a monopoly does not need excessive commercials. That's number one. Number two, I feel that it's going to hurt a lot of people, and I brought that up 3 times. And I just don't think that is really taken into consideration. And while we're going to see an increase now, I think this is just the first step in a long series of increases. And it's going to make the affordability of electricity for many, many people harder and harder and harder, and it's going to hurt them. The one last thing I want to bring up is I'm old-fashioned, and I write a check every month and mail it, you know. And Ameren I send it to a Chicago address. And I always thought, you know, why not have a Missouri address and try to keep the money in Missouri? You know, I don't want to go to some corporate group in Chicago, and I just feel that there is a need for them to consider themselves more a part of Missouri and not a part of some large corporation somewhere. Now, I don't know what the future holds, but I wish everybody the best here. But I want the Public Service Commission to make a really good informed decision here and do their best to try to prevent future rate increases and control needless costs of these particular utilities. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAvoy. And I apologize, I'm having a hard time with the full last name on this. It's Robert Reeves hyphen.
Larashi. Reeves is just fine, though,
Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
of course.
And would you spell your name for the record?
Robert Reeves Larashi, Reeves hyphen Luraschi.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the Commission are the truth?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay, we're here today because Ameren is requesting a 15% increase. Some of the things I want to talk about have already been covered, so I will go rather briefly over some of the numbers. Suggesting that $446 million increase per year suggests that they do not have the money to do so, but just a cursory look at what their top executives make plus their year-to-year net profits suggests otherwise, and I feel increasing the rates on the Missouri people, it would be negligent in doing so. Using 2023 numbers, as 2024 numbers have not yet been published, at least by the time of writing this, they listed 5 executives on their SEC report and 1 outgoing executive, each of whom made more than $2 million each, which includes their CEO, who made over $8.2 million, and their CFO, who made over $9.6 million. Those 6 people combined made just shy of $28 million, and the CEO pay ratio at Ameren is 68-1, and yet there was nothing suggesting that maybe any of them should decrease their salaries to help fund this. But looking at their profits is a bit more interesting. Looking at their net profit, that's after expenses, salaries, taxes, everything's accounted for. In 2023, Ameren Corporation made $1.152 billion, which was over 7% increase from the year before, 1.07, an 8% increase from the year before at 0.99, 13% increase from that, and so on and so on. So let's just pretend that 1.15 billion amount is the same they made in 2024, and we're going to make that year and not any increase like they have been showing. Is Ameren seriously suggesting that if they were to pump all 446 million of that from their profits, that a mere $600 million in profits, it's not enough to get by, especially when the average Missourian is getting paid only about $69,000 per household, with the per individual income is less than that per year, and 12% of the state lives in poverty. And that's before everything's been considered, like expenses, taxes, and electric bills, of which Ameren has already increased their rates in 2023 to gain an extra $140 million. And rates in general have been increasing from 2020 to 2023, combining both the winter and summer into about an average by about 20% between these 3 years. By comparison, though, inflation, the highest it went in that time in 2022, was 8%. That's about 12% higher than inflation. The issue is none of this would have mattered if anyone in Missouri or this area had a choice, if there were other electric companies we could go with or the grids or whatnot. But the issue is the vast majority of Missourians do not have a choice on their electric company. This is, as someone else mentioned, a monopoly. We can't just simply go to another company that we're not happy with. We legitimately don't have a choice. And people who want to use, say, renewables, a large chunk of the land that Ameren services is wooded, so that's harder for solar to be used, and it creates much more drag on wind power as well. Ameren has already increased their rates upon Missourians and have already seen greater amounts of profits because of that. The top brass rakes in millions, while the average Missourian is just trying to get by, and then they demand that we pay to support projects that they already have more than enough money to fund. I believe that Ameren should not be allowed to go forth with the increase for these reasons. And if the PSC decides to grant them to their request, either full or reduced, part of which, as we found out earlier, was just to appease their shareholders, then I firmly believe that the PSC should strike forth the first section from their mission statement, which states, "We will ensure that Missourians receive safe and reliable utility services at just, reasonable, and affordable rates." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Wait. And just for the record,
Yes.
you held up two pieces of paper, and one, I believe, was a service map area of the utilities, of electric utilities in
That's
Missouri?
correct.
And the other was a renewable footprint map, is that?
This was, I forget which side I got this from. This was showing the wooded coverage. All the darker spots on here are how much forestry and wood there is, which blocks out, sunlight for solar and other things.
Okay. I just want to be sure to note that for the record.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Scott Connor? Scott Connor? I thought that person at the back was Mr. Connor, but he was finding his way out the door. Alan Lederbrand? Lederbrand? Lederbrand. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Lederbrand.
Alan Lederbrand, that's Leaderbrand.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comment you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
And what would you like to tell the commission today, Mr. Lederbrand?
My concern is the fact that 15% seems a little high. Being a retiree and a lot of elderly who are retired or on fixed income, a 15% increase is substantial when we only get, from Social Security, you only get 2% or 2.5%, and Medicare takes part of it, so basically you're walking away still with the same amount of income. I know costs have gone up, but this just seems a little ridiculous when a lot of facts haven't been presented, exactly how Ameren's going to spend the money. Today, most of it seems they're going to be spending a large portion on renewable energy, yet we're closing down our plants that generate reliable energy, and I think that's a concern. I don't want to be, in a situation when we hit a peak and we just don't have the power. We have brownouts. Look at California. They're encouraging people to get electric cars, but then telling them don't plug them in because we're going to have brownouts, and I don't want that to come to Missouri. This past summer, we lost power for 2.5 hours. There was one couple years before that, we were down for 24 hours without power. And Ameren's trying, you call the number and they're responding, saying, we're working on it. Constantly, lights are flickering, or we'll lose power for 10, 15 seconds, and it comes back on. My concern is reliable power. I mean, solar panels, wind's fine if you want it during the day or trying to hit those peaks, but we need to maintain consistent, reliable power, and that's not renewable energy. My concern also is, I heard at another one of the meetings that you're going to allow Ameren to up the percentage of the rate for investors, what their profit is. I'm not sure. That's what I was reading in some of the papers. I think they've got enough, especially when you're bringing home billions. My concern is, the elderly. They're poor. This is going to be a big hit for them, along with all this other inflation we've experienced over the last, couple years. And now President Trump is saying, use coal, use gas. He's going to drive the price down. We're going to pump, create more and more. So I look at that as an alternative. Go back to what we were doing, but we can use cleaner. Natural gas is clean. If they can drive the price down, that would be more reasonable to use than solar panels, or especially the wind, which is expensive. And you see the panels, it's always on the news. These big the wind turbines are burning up because the bearings go out, or they're killing the birds. Nobody seems to have a problem with these wind turbines killing the birds.
3 minutes.
So at that time, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to have an opportunity to speak today.
Thank you for your comments. There was a lot to go through there. Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones? Oh, I apologize.
Jones, Jones.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead, sir.
Well, a lot of the comments that I could have made are made already. All I can say is I'm one of the people they call the baby boomers. And we got a lot of those coming. We got a lot of them being buried. The thing about it is, progress only exists as long as the people are there to help it. And if you raise it to a point where the people cannot exist, they're going to try to go somewhere else. We've heard people talk about going to a different state where they have better facilities for and lower prices for electric. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What do we need to do to realize that we have to set certain limits on what we do? You cannot raise everything every time. The one thing that I want to get off my mind is a few years ago, customer service rate was added. $9.14 a month. Take 2 million customers here. That's a lot of money. So what are they going to use it for? Where do we stop when we keep adding and adding and adding? Soon, there's no more to take. 2.5% increase? That's all seniors get. We don't get a lot of options. We have to live within our means. I sit down every day and figure out what I have, what I can spend. I'm fortunate that the VA pen that gives me my medicine, and they help me out. But they cannot help everyone out because of the fact I'm just one little person in a room full of people wanting to know where can we stop the rate increases and use what we have. Ameren says they've already spent the upgrades that they're asking money back for. Well, I've never worked for a company that didn't have what they call capital improvements. You set aside so much each year for improvements. You maintain that. You increase that. You don't increase the amount of money a person has in stock in a company. You want that stock to be standard, stationary. You don't want it to fill itself out to where it's not worth anything. But they want to do that. Pay these people to sit there and make no decisions, but get these big salaries because they're a CFO or a CEO. You know, it makes, to me, is that working people work hard for every dollar they have. And when they see someone saying, hey, you got to put more out this way, yeah, they're going to raise questions. Justify it. Show me why. And the questions that we had before you got here, we didn't get those real answers. We got supposition, not substance. And that is what this is all about. If you sit there and you just listen to what they say, then you don't have any questions, then you haven't looked into the problem. And the problem is, why? Why is this here necessary? You got 1.2 million people that use Ameren, and here you are.
And you've
wanting
passed
to-
3 minutes.
I thank you very much, sir, for your time.
I have one quick question for
Sure,
you, if
go
I
ahead.
may. You had mentioned that a customer service rate of $9 had been added at some point. Would you explain that to me briefly?
Sure. They came in, just like we're doing today, a few years ago, and wanted to add customer service to the rates. Customer service is for what? I can show you my electric bill right now. It shows $9.14 for customer service. It does not show for anything else but customer service. And if everything's going into technology and they're doing away with meters and using these Swifters, meters and everything, smart meters, sorry, why do they need that $9.14? What is it going for?
Okay, thank you for elucidating that for me. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir, and have a great day, I hope.
You as well. Is there a Catherine here? And I may be having difficulty with your last name. Cogorno?
Yes, we put our names together just because we want to go back.
You would like to speak? Oh, you would like to go back to back? And you would be Patricia?
I'm Patricia, I'd like to go first.
You'd like to go first? That is fine with me.
All right, thank you.
Would you please state and spell your name for the record, Patricia?
My name is Patricia Tocco, it's spelled Tocco.
And would you raise your right? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the Commission are the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
We represent St. Louis for Safe Technology. It's a group with a membership of over 400 people in the metro area. We are here to question if the proposed rate increase has anything to do with the cost of rolling out smart meters. We, the customers, have never approved smart digital meters because of adverse health effects, the increase in dirty electricity in our houses, surveillance concerns, a history of them catching on fire, and a deceitful claim by Ameren that they more accurately register actual consumption or save money. Those who have opted out of them in favor of old analog meters have to pay Ameren an additional $40 a month. We consider this to be extortion. Spires has an opt-out program, and I only have to pay $30 a month to them. So I pay $70 a month in opt-out fees. Now, these same customers are going to be penalized even further with an exorbitant rate increase. Information. There is built-in obsolescence to smart meters. They only last 6 to 8 years, compared to 30 to 50 years for analog meters. They are also not green. If there are 1.2 million homes in Missouri using smart meters that cost $250 each, this means that Ameren needs $300 million to replace them in a several-year time period. Is this what the rate increase is needed for? To meet Ameren's cost budget for something that none of us asked for, which is unnecessary? Obviously, there's no transparency about this from Ameren. We are already suffering from high inflation rates, and the rates of utilities being charged have been creeping up in the last few years, and we oppose to these arbitrary rate hikes. More information. These are technical concerns. Contrary to the old analogs, which operate with a flawless mechanism, the smart digital meters have electronic circuits which are prone to break down and wear out, just like typical computers. They also have lithium batteries, which can explode and catch fire. The smart meters do not have a built-in surge suppression mechanism to safely route lightning to the ground via the smart meter, the meter box. Should a power surge or a lightning strike occur, routing to the electrical boards can cause an explosion and likely a fire. These fires have been documented in many homes. And the question is Ameren liable for this fire damage to our homes? And I'll turn it over to Kathy.
My name is Catherine Cogorno, Cogorno, continuing with what Ms. Toko expressed.
Would you raise your right hand and be sworn?
Yes, I swear that what I will read is the best of my knowledge,
The truth. Go ahead.
Veritas, the truth. The base of smart meters is not made like the analogs with dimensional stability and ability to withstand high heat. The glass face construction of the analog meter is also superior in providing a time-tested seal from dust and weather effects and resisting high heat temperatures. The acrylic plastic cover on digital meters, however, in case of its malfunction, will melt and catch fire. Mr. Bill Bathgate, electrical engineer, instructor, and national expert in these devices, has proven in courts, he lives in Michigan, but he's very well known, he worked actually with NASA. He has proven that the smart meters don't accurately measure consumption, don't save any money, and frequently the customers are overcharged, in addition to the healthcare concerns we are expressing. Also recently, our local Mr. Robert Workman, a certified building biology environmental consultant and radiation specialist, contacted the Missouri Public Safety Commission about these fire hazards, but has received no response. Digital meters use a switch mode power supply, creating dirty electricity, and have no connection to the ground, so they cannot meet FCC conductive emission tests. In terms of surveillance, the smart meters use a 900 megahertz radio signal transmitting personal usage on a 1 to 15 minute interval to the utility. The signal can determine if you are at home, when you use your power the most, and whether the load is resistive, like for light bulbs, or inductive electrical motors. A cell phone can be turned off at will, but not the digital meters, which are pulsing constantly, creating an electromagnetic field that is damaging to people, animals, and even plant life. But Ameren and utility providers will never tell us this. Finally, for anyone who claims that we are in compliance with the FCC, you should know that their guidelines are 25 years obsolete, and they are in contempt of court for not even looking at the mountains of evidence, thousands of scientific studies, even from our own government, proving that electromagnetic frequencies are harmful. We appreciate the opportunity to voice our concerns about these dangerous devices that have been rolled out without wise or appropriate consideration of the customer's well-being, safety, and security, and now an unjustified rate increase imposed on us with no financial means to continue to afford such excessive escalating fees and rates. And again, I am representing St. Louis for Safe Technology. Thank you.
Let's go off the record for just a second. Can you come back up here just a second? We have a question for you. Wait a second. I haven't gone back on the record yet. Let's go back on the record. Staff has a question for you.
I was just going to ask if you wanted to introduce that to the record.
Oh, yes, thank you. That's why I had it. Thank you.
Ameren, Missouri also has a question for you.
I just wanted to ask if you were customers or whether you're speaking on behalf of the St. Louis for Safe Technology.
Customers and members of, and founding members of the St. Louis for Safe Technology Group that was started here in St. Louis. And yes, we're Ameren customers.
And actually, the group formed because of our grave concern about 5G. And then we have a very nice Facebook page with a lot of information. People share things from all over, and the smart meters situation comes out a lot. People are asking us, what can we do to opt out of them? I was personally severely damaged by a smart meter put on my 2 feet away from where I slept. I started having heart problems and other things. I have to sleep in another room. We've been communicating and learning a lot from Mr. Robert Workman, who is our best resource in St. Louis, and he's offered his services to any district or any organization or service provider who wants to learn from him and try to help mitigate. Right now, we do a lot of work trying to help people mitigate the damage from the EMFs, not just from the smart meter, but other devices. But this is of grave concern, especially for people who can't even opt out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will get your speech from the court reporter when we're finished, and I will have that admitted onto the record as local public hearing exhibit 2 from this local public hearing. Jan Burmeister. And Ms. Burmeister, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Jan Burmeister, B-U-R-M-E-I-S-T-E-R.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you are about to offer to the Commission are the truth?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Chairwoman Hahn, Commissioners Holzman, Kolkmeyer, and Mitchell, and Dr. Coleman, thank you for being here with us. A chronological list of all utility rate increase requests and grants for St. Louis could not be found anywhere, but one captures scattered tidbits and reports from the websites of Laclede Gas, now Spire, Missouri American Water, Ameren, Missouri, St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer. It paints a very disturbing picture, especially with Ameren UE's record. August 2007, they wanted 21%. 2009, $250 million. July 29, 18%. December 2010, 23%. January 2011, 5.5 million. February 2012, 263 million. July 2011, 172 million. February 2012, 14%. July 2012, 14%. January 2015, 9.65%. March 2015, 8%. July 2016, 206 million. January 2017, 8 million. October 2021, 12 million. August of 2022, 61%. And now, January 2025, 15.9%. I want to make 3 points. One, I have, but will spare you, similar stats of increased requests from all the other utilities. When you merge all of this into one list with Ameren's record, they show an uncanny proximity of request dates that smack of let's get ours too bandwagon. It's a predictable revolving door scenario. When an increase is granted for whatever compelling reason, once the urgent need is overcome, the increase never gets rolled back, noticeably. We fixed income citizens have seen our Social Security COLAs raised from 2010 to 2017, maybe 1 to 3% a year. When you add up the double-digit rate increases from just one utility, let alone the aggregate of all of them, you can begin to understand the formidable burden this places on older citizens whose household income has dropped 10 to 15% during that same time. I have 3 requests. Number 1, it is our earnest hope that this commission would find a way to regulate and restrain this historic, unchecked assault on the citizens of Missouri by granting only rational requests in reasonable amounts and by requiring rollback dates to all increases. Number 2, also before granting any rate increases, please consider recent exorbitant profits, how many lawyers they have on payroll specifically in charge of fashioning, justifying, and timing these regular increase requests, and their management policies in general. And finally, we ask for more oversight from you or another appropriate government agency to ensure that financial accountability of a rate increase is achieved, recorded, and made public before a future increase request is allowed to be brought. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burmeister. That was very, very well said. Thank you for your comments. Marlene Orblick? Is there a Marlene here? Barb Wendling.
I'm good. Yeah. Barbara Wendling, Wendling.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
I really don't have a lot of comments because I think everything's been addressed, but I want to bring forward the amount of people who do not have electricity and are behind on their bills. 190,000 people is the equivalent of the population of the boundary of St. Louis, approximately. I think that's outrageous, and I think that needs to be addressed, and I think it needs to be demanded by Ameren that they do so. And I do agree that we need to find out exactly, every year it needs to be published, how much Ameren makes per year in profit and how much their investors are making per year. I would like to be treated as a consumer as much as their investors are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Comments? Wait just a second. Linda Lyons?
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Lyons, Lyons.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are true?
I do.
Please go ahead.
I am a resident of DeSoto, Missouri, and I'm here to represent my over 55 apartment community. A lot has been said about people who are retired and on very limited income, and I just want to demonstrate how this is affecting my neighbors. I have a neighbor who lives in one room of her apartment with a space heater because she has incurred medical costs and she's trying to pay everything, and there's a limited income. So I want Ameren to know that this is real life. This is really impacting everyday people, and this increase is really beyond what most people can afford to pay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Sandy Meyer?
Good afternoon, Sandy Meyer, Meyer.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
Advertising was addressed, and I agree, we don't need any more advertising. I can't choose where I'm going to get my electric. The increase should come out of their profits. Mr. Reeves, thank you very much. You spoke very eloquently. The municipalities will increase the cost of their other services to cover the cost of their increase in their electric bills. So it's just rolling, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. And I would like to see Ameren plant more trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Walter Roth? Would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Walter Roth, R-O-T-H-E.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
I'm a retired electrical engineer. I didn't come here representing any particular group, but only as a concerned citizen. I became concerned about 2 years ago when I found out that Ameren was retiring 2 gigawatts or 20% of our cheap and reliable electrical energy. I wrote to Ameren 3 times without a response from them. I sent the same letter, well, a slightly modified letter. Well, first the same letter, then a slightly modified letter to someone at the PSC who did answer and agreed generally with what I was concerned about. Fortunately, Ameren changed their plans in the 2023 IRP and added a peaker plant that addressed a good part of what I was concerned about. My suggestion to Ameren is to build the peaker plant so it can be operating more than the maximum of the 1% of the time that it is planned, because with as much unreliable energy as you have planned, I believe that you will need it and more. A second suggestion is to be more accountable to the general public. Get back with people that sincerely want to help Missouri prosper. A third suggestion is to publish the history and plans of your electrical rate increases. And that way you're more accountable. And my last suggestion is to go with a much cheaper non-carbon capture and non-hydrogen combined gas turbine. I know you've been considering different options there, because I think by the mid-2030s we'll all be going to fusion energy. And I'd like to, if I could, talk with someone from Ameren. I've got other concerns later after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Roth. Betty Via, or Vi?
Good afternoon. I'm Betty Via, spelled V-I-A.
And Ms. Via, would you raise your right hand and be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do, to the best of my knowledge.
And what would you like to tell the commission today?
Well, a lot of things have already been touched on. Mr. Reeves did an excellent job. But I think one of the things we need to look at in the grand scheme of this is we need to look at common sense. I realize that Ameren is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, and investors expect dividends and returns. But we also need to look at all sides of everything. And I think we need to look at how it affects people differently. Yes, I'm a senior, but I'm here just not to represent seniors. I feel all people are impacted by this. When you look at the general business world, you're lucky if employees get a 3 to 4% raise annually. Some have worked years without a raise. Some don't get that. I was in a fortunate company where we were able to give good raises. Nothing like 15%. That went out in the 80s. The other thing we need to look at is between 2020 and 2023, there have been 3 price increases, and if I add them together, they total over 20% for those years. Now we're here with another request at almost 16%, which is going to be $17 to $18 a month and possibly more. Let's talk about how that affects the general public. As people stated earlier, if it's a senior, they got a 2.5% increase. There are actually people that lost money when they got that increase because their insurance just went up above and beyond it. So we've all heard about seniors, but the average senior individual, average senior lives on $23,100 a year from Social Security. So they're not in a position to be indiscriminate with their budget. The median household income in Missouri is between $68,000 and $69,000, okay? If that's a family of 4, they're gonna cut back either on college education for their kids, retirement funding for themselves. The senior has no place to cut back. It would be medication or groceries. And it would also be almost in an annual computation, it would be about 1% of their income. Now the CEO, who makes just over $9 million a year according to the latest documentation, that would be a tip, that monthly $17, $18 would be a tip for him when he had breakfast somewhere. So we need to look at this as a common sense approach. Am I saying I think Ameren has done a good job with a lot of things? I'm happy with my service. I'm fortunate enough to have underground wire, so we have electricity about 99.9% of the time. I pay my bill on time, but there are people that face challenges. There was a time in our life where we faced a great challenge when my husband was hurt, And we drastically went from a good two-sized income to one income plus about another 30% for a long time. So I understand the challenges, and I want to speak for everybody. But my one question, particularly to Ameren, is what happened to like 15 to 20 years ago when there was money on the books for capital expenses? That was called the cost of doing business, and the private companies bore that themselves. They planned for capital expenses, they planned for infrastructure. If they didn't do that, they went out of business. So another question is, why are you not planning the same way? Why are not you supporting your own improvements in infrastructure? To the PSC Commission, I ask you this. It says Public Service Commission. What do you look at when you grant these raises? Now, I'm not saying Ameren shouldn't always get a raise, or sometimes they should, sometimes they shouldn't. But what I'm really saying is, let's go with some common sense. I feel like common sense in many cases has left the building with Elvis. So common sense to me would, if they need an increase, let them plan on getting an increase that's approximately 4 to 5%, like all those working people we just talked about. You know,
And you're at 3 minutes.
thank you very much. Just remember this. The money is not endless. It all comes from somewhere. So I hope you will all take that into consideration as you go forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Glenn Conan?
Good afternoon. My name is Glenn Keenan, K-O-E-N-E-N.
Thank you, Mr. Keenan. Would you raise your right hand and be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony or that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
First of all, I want to point out that 100 years ago, Ameren was climbing every rock and going through every valley, wiring up the state of Missouri. Now they have an existing system. The risk factor for investors is much lower now than it was in 1925. Basically, if you look around the country, many other states are looking. Right now, Ameren has been guaranteed a return on equity of around 10%. Many other places are looking at that, and actually you will attract investors with a utility, with a good cash flow, with a return on equity of 6%. In other words, Ameren could give up 40% of that return on equity and still make money. At the same time, I was doing the math on my house. We have a 3-bedroom house, 2 people in it. We don't have a lot of lights. We don't have the air conditioning super high. According to the data I came up with, our increase is going to be about $22 a month. That's a lot more than $17 a month. Also, I spent my career working in nonprofit agencies. Every month, a number of people would come to us who, because of things they could not control, they could not pay their electric bill. The sad reality is that most people who need help with their electric bill do not get it. The money is not there. If you increase the rates by 15%, we are not going to see a 15 or 20% increase in donations to food pantries, to charities, St. Vincent de Paul councils. What we are going to see are more people living without electricity. There's an article I heard on the radio the other day. The majority of millennials count on their tax return to pay off some of their credit card and other debt. We could see a situation where people are having to wait for their tax refund to pay their electric bill. And of course, it's not just electric. Here in St. Louis County, we've had massive increases by the sewer district. We've had increases by the water company. We've had increases by Spire for gas. When is it going to end? I think we're getting to a point where, unfortunately, for many people, we're there. For example, in Pemescot County, which Ameren serves, the median household income is just over $40,000. That means half the families have incomes below $40,000. It means some families have incomes of $20,000 for a household. How do we ask those people to kick in $15 or $17 or $22 more? Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Keenan, did you want me to enter this into the record of this
Yes,
local
please.
public hearing as an exhibit? Okay. I will mark this as Exhibit 3 and enter it into the record of this local public hearing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Chris Watt.
I'm
Mr.
Chris Watt, W-A-T-T.
And Mr. Watt, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer the commission are the truth?
So help me God.
Please go ahead.
First, on the service charge, talk to customer service. Ameren, you call Ameren, you get a machine. A machine does not cost $9 a month per person. Then you 15 minutes to an hour before you can talk to somebody. A lot of us, a lot of people's already touched on this, don't make lots of money. It has to come from someplace. You want me to pay an extra $20, $25 a month? It's either bills, food, or medicine. Some of us are just trying to survive. Ameren makes, what was it, $1.5 million? What's what the top guy makes? I don't need to buy his Ferrari or his mansion. I don't need to pay for the investors' fancy cars or houses. Nobody else here needs to either. We need to think about this. The Public Service Commission, it's public service, not corporate service. Think about us. Don't think about the lobbyists. Don't think about their big pockets and how much they're going to offer a vacation or something. Think about us. We only get so much money. Have a good day.
Thank you for, thank you for your comments. Mike Palizzi? Mike Palizzi? Jason Teasley?
Hello, I'm Jason Teasley, T-E-A-S-L-E-Y.
Mr. Teasley, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I am going to go quickly. I could talk for hours. I'm a resident and small business owner. It's in a county that ranks 88 out of the 115 in Missouri. We're at $37,000 per household, and it is the poorest county serviced by Ameren in its entirety. But that, I'm going to be testifying as a business analyst in this. And thanks for the opportunity to voice the facts. Really thank the OPC. Increased cost hurts most the people making the least. Any non-value added expense that increases to every person in a region is bad for everyone. No brainer. Due to the frequent rate requests that they said they were going to start in 05 and 07, said they were going to do it as a strategy, we have seen 11 since 06. My math shows that $1 million is taken from my community and given to their investors, which is BlackRock and the biggest financial companies out there. These people need it. If there's a product this product is not discretionary, it's critical. No one I know would call this a discretionary product. That's why we have to make the stand here, not against Nike. Okay? Before Ameren, UE went over 20 years without a rate increase. How could they do that? Well, they were responsible with cost. They're now rewarded for spending. 5 executives make as much as 2,500 people in my community. Executives under UE had 6% increases or single digits. Now it's 20 to 80. Ameren's cost of goods sold is fuel plus purchase power. If both get too low, they owe us a credit on the versus the FAC, hopefully for the next 15 years like they've been billing us. Every other company in the history would spend all of their resources to make their cost of goods sold zero, which is a possibility for Ameren. When the price of purchase power went from $5 to $237 in 2022, their financials went from $200 million expense to $700 million, which is unprecedented. And now their purchase power for last fall and this coming spring, everywhere from the Gulf of Mexico to the wilderness of Canada is getting bid for $15, and we, only Ameren's territory exclusively in Missouri, is going to pay $720 for that same thing. It's on the MISO site. Dividends are now their highest expense, over $700 million. They tell investors they plan to increase 6 to 8% that every year. In a couple of years, that's going to be $1 billion. Don't buy energy efficiency because they bill us for stuff we didn't use. They decoupled sales and revenue in 2009, and the two lines that were together for 100 years split apart. I have all their data. We have two protections as a person for against this monopoly. One is the PSC. Okay, if they don't do it, the only thing I have left is to not use their product, and they decoupled the sales and revenue. So they've taken that away from me too.
And that's 3 minutes.
It's all by weather.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And I'm very impressed our court reporter was keeping up with that. If you are having trouble keeping up with something, please let me know. Carol Morrison.
Do I have to spell my name?
Please.
Morrison, M-O-R-R-I-S-O-N.
And Ms. Morrison, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to give to the commission are the truth?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
I just want to say I'm really impressed with everybody that came here to speak on people's behalf. I came this morning and was speaking about the $61 million that Ameren had to pay last month in fees for the, Festus Island, Rush Island. And they said they paid that. And I thought, well, they were just told last month they had to pay it, and it was $61 million. So they must have had some money that they saved. And I was asking them if that was the reason why they, have to ask us for money now. And he said no. And it's for improvements where it'll only be like 125,000 people because of, my point is that I just think this is just a done deal between you and them. And I just feel like we just have no choice but to do whatever you and them decide. I just feel like Missouri is just getting screwed, and we just keep on getting screwed because nobody gives a shit.
Please don't swear. But thank you for your comments. Sherry Weber. And Ms. Weber, would you spell your name for the record?
W-E-B-E-R.
And you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes. So I'd like to start with the idea that, and I was shocked when the people from Ameren did not know what they made last year in profit, $1.1 billion with a B. And I would like you to think about that profit compared to the consumer-owned energy companies in Missouri. And there are many in Missouri. For example, Crawford Electric, which is located in Franklin County, earned $112 million. City Utilities of Springfield had $18.5 million in profit. Empire District Company had a $136.9 million. I would take it upon the commission to look at these companies and ask yourselves, how do they service their customers with such a small margin of profit compared to Ameren's profit and how they service their customers? Just something for you to look into. I did this research in less than 5 minutes, so it's out there. The other point I'd like to make is, why is Ameren allowed to charge their customers a fuel service fee? No one pays me for the fuel I use. Why am I paying them for the fuel they use? Maybe they should look into buying electric vehicles with their money, and then they're making a profit off of their vehicles instead of charging their customers for the use of their vehicles. And in the last 2 years, if this raise goes through at that 15%, we will have paid a total of 25% additional on top of what it was originally thought of we were going to pay. I know I didn't get that kind of raise. I had 2.5%. My raise will not even pay for 2 months increase. And I have a raise. Many people are not going to get raises this year because Missouri raised the minimum wage, which I applaud them for that. But they're not going to get a raise in additional to their minimum wage going up. And let's go to their shareholders, because they love to say that they need to keep their shareholders happy. Today, so a year ago, you could buy a share of Ameren stock for $63. Today's price for an Ameren stock is $94. That's a pretty nice little profit if you're a shareholder. So here in this area, we are under a monopoly. Maybe we should look at becoming a consumer-owned electric company. Kirkwood is. Maybe we should join them. And then another, and this is a question, I know you don't have to answer it, but I would just be curious. As a member of the commission, are you allowed to buy into their stock? Just curious. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
John Carr?
My name is John Carr, John-Carr.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead, Mr. Carr.
May I suggest, John Clark, when you call somebody up, you might also name who is on deck. Might speed things along a little bit. I also might be the lone person here that recognizes the need to pay an adequate dividend to the shareholders, as well as pay salaries to maintain executive talent. However, the people of Missouri depend upon the PSC and perhaps even the OPC to make sure that those are fair and equitable without being excessive. So also I would ask of the PSC that when Ameren sends out these little flyers saying that when these meetings are, that they include some a little more information so that we don't have to like spend hours online trying to figure out what it's all about. So I'm assuming that some of this rate increase is for extra or for to add capacity, windmills and solar and such, and this increase in capacity is presumably also to allow them to shut down steam plants such as like coal plants, which I think is a pretty short-sighted idea. The wind and solar are fragile sources of electricity, unlike the various steam plants. Plus, if we have the extra capacity that we couldn't afford to shut down like a coal plant. Instead, we should either keep it online or in such a state that it can be readily brought back online, not only in the case of emergency, but also it could be used to entice one of the $500 million AI investments that are going to be made in various spots around the country. I think that it'd be very good for Missouri to do that. I don't know how much natural gas that Ameren, Missouri uses. I know that a lot of people are big advocates of that. I'd like to state that natural gas, like coal, is a finite resource. Natural gas is much better used in the home or in industry, and we should not be squandering it to generate electricity. The last thing I would ask of the PSC is that they put some effort into trying to increase the resilience of our grid against EMP. Anybody that reads the news and pays attention to it knows that there is at least some small threat from countries like Iran, North Korea, that are developing or have the capabilities to generate an EMP burst and take out our entire electrical grid, and also that they ask or require Ameren to go above and beyond whatever requirements they have to protect us against, well, for cybersecurity, to protect us not only against hacking, but as we know, again, if anybody paying attention to the news, the Chinese are supposedly have infected just about every single public utility in the country, and I think that's a pretty big concern and something we should be worried about and take action against.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
what information did you feel was missing from the local public hearing notices you received?
Well, the notice, all I got from the notice is that there's a rate increase coming up. Okay, so how about why the things that, why? Like, what is the money needed? Just a page or two that says, explains what the increase is for.
Okay, so you would like greater explanation.
Yeah, just, you're sending out a couple pages
You would like a
anyways.
lot of the stuff that's in the question and answer session to be in the notice.
I think that there's just a lot of facts about what this sort of 450 million a year or whatever it is they're asking for. Like why? Either what was it spent on that they need the money to cover the cost of, or what are they planning to spend the money on that they need it for? Because there's none of that information here. It's just there's a big increase and come talk about it. It's like, well,
Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
thank you.
Cynthia Lampe? Ms. Lampe, would you state and spell your name for the record?
Cynthia Lampe, Lampe.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
I do.
What would you like to tell the commission today?
As I asked Ameren during the question and answer session, what would happen if one of their divisions came to them and said, give us 15%. We can't tell you why. Just in general, we need more. They unequivocally, in a moment, said, no, we wouldn't give it to them. So I asked the PCS, why are we even here? Ameren wouldn't give this to their own division. So why are you asking that from us? We didn't get an increase of 15%. I am on a fixed income. My check from Social Security is less than $1,400 a month. I am expecting a bill next month between $300 and $500 because 5 days out of this month, I had to turn my heat up to 72 degrees to keep my house from freezing. And I don't know if I'll be able to pay that bill. No one should have to do that while we have executives who are making $2, $3, $4 million a year. That is more than their average rank and file will make in 4, 5, 6 lifetimes. It's outrageous. Until such time that Ameren's stock price isn't twice what it was in 2008, that they're not able to pay dividends to their investors, and that their executive salaries are less than $500,000 a year, they should not be here asking us for more money. If nothing else, when executives are paid more in 1 year than their rank and file is paid in a lifetime, you take away the American dream. When my father was working, executives only earned 10 times what their rank and file worked for. And that way people could say, in 10 years, I can buy something that my boss bought this year. But when it's lifetimes more, the rank and file can never hope to have anything that the executives have. I know I'm missing so many things here. Open up. Why did you close anyway? All right. Solar and wind, everybody keeps talking about them. But solar and wind require a lot of, shall we say, maintenance. They are only good in certain situations. And to talk about Ameren using solar and wind as mass producers of power is a little ridiculous. As someone said, a hailstorm will ruin your entire investment. But if instead of using corporate entities, you instead made programs to help the consumer use solar and wind on their personal properties, instead of these third-party companies coming in who charge excessively for the process and maintaining their systems, making it unaffordable for the average person. The PCS is supposed to keep these costs in check. When Ameren stock prices are double what they were before the 2008 crash, you're paying dividends, you're excessively paying your executives, you're not doing your job. When they can charge a $9 a month fee for customer service, you're not doing your job. They no longer have any relation to the people anymore. And I am a recently retired genius. And I will tell you, PSC, if you pass this 15%, I will make it my personal mission to make sure not one of you sits on this board next year. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Lampy. Gloria White. Ms. White, would you state and spell your name for the record?
W-H-I-T-E.
And do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the commission are the truth?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Most everything that I've heard today has been close to my heart. One thing that I want to address is the people such as myself who rely on medical durable equipment as a life-saving thing that they need every day, and that includes myself. With that being said, also in addition, the general public, I'm talking about the people on disability and Social Security, we're already working at a deficit. It seems that every time we get a cost of living increase, every entity has their hand out, wanting more. Our cost of living is about 7 times less than what Ameren is asking for. As one person stated, there's going to be a lot of people who will not have electricity in this great land of America, and that's just hard to comprehend. Another point I would like to make is with the Public Service Commission. And this is like one of my first or second public hearings, so I'm very novice at this. But why hasn't the Public Service Commission allowed or helped or some way facilitated for Missouri to not have a monopoly energy provider? A monopoly, they make the rates, they make the rules, and we get to go to a hearing. And I feel like it's stacked against us from the beginning, because they've already kind of made up their mind that this is what we want. And I don't know about the lobbying, I don't know about that side of it, but I'm glad to have an opportunity to come here to learn more about what's going on in my state. And like I said, everything else has been addressed, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. White. Thank you for your comments. Gay Gosling? Gay Gosling? Is there an Anthony here? And I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. An Anthony? Gentry Trotter. Mr. Trotter, would you please state and spell your name for the record?
Gentry, Gentrytrotter, Gentry Trotter, founder of Heat Up St. Louis and Heat Up Missouri.
Okay. And do you solemnly swear or affirm?
I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the
I
comments
do.
you are about to offer to the Commission are the truth?
I do. But I wanted to ask a question, though, since you cut us to 3 minutes. How do we then give, because I can't give you these notes because I had to change them to keep it down. How do we finally send you something from our, the original, because I have to, cut it?
You want to late file an exhibit?
Huh?
You're wanting to late file an exhibit, is that correct?
Well,
Or
I
file
want to take,
after the hearing?
I want to take, because I had to edit all of this, I don't want to leave it with you guys, so I'm saying, can I email what I actually wanted to present to you?
Let's go off the record for just a moment.
Yeah.
Do we have an email address? I mean, I know we have email addresses, I know we usually have one just for exhibits.
psc.mo.gov.
He was musing over whether we just have one directly for exhibits, but we're going to work that out.
I think we do. If you can stick around for just a minute afterwards, I will get an email address for you where you can have it sent to, where it can be added as a hearing exhibit.
I'm the founder of Heat Up St. Louis. And
Wait, hold on. Let's go back on the record. Go ahead.
I'm the founder of Heat Up St. Louis, and I'm used to directions. I used to be on TV, and I directed people as well, so I like to stop and start and stop and start. It just, at 77, it's interesting. Each of us can agree that times are tough. Each of us can agree about our family budgets, how they are stretched thin. And there's tough times for a lot of us in this room, and I am overwhelmed by the sincerity of the people here. 5 years ago to advocate, because I had worked with the Clean Gas before, Lee Lieberman, the late Lee Lieberman and so forth, and I saw a vacuum of not having the public to be able to be educated or having people to advocate for them. And in those days, there was LIHEAP funds, so the utilities worked with them, and they weren't going to say a lot of, they were not going to do anything to upset the apple cart. But I was born to upset the apple cart. The commissioner knows my late mom, who was a great civil rights leader, and Frankie Freeman, who was a great commissioner. And so my point was to work with the utilities. And we were not the best of friends when we started. But the reality is we had to figure out a way to work with what we call the rank and file and eventually management, where we could work and tell them what we hear and see out in the community. We're now in 44 counties of Missouri and Illinois. So what we hear, we pass on. What we see and hear, they make the difference in changing some of their policies. Not often all what we want, but when you're sitting at the table, you get a chance to tell them in no uncertain terms, unfiltered, what you think. I think they've become to appreciate over the years. We have them on our board of directors, and both utility companies on the Missouri side, and one of the ones that is Quiver River Electric. They're not regulated by you guys. But it's to better understand, to understand the people. A lot of my volunteers on the other side, I'm not talking about senior management, the rank and file people, they work with us on a lot of projects that we do. We work with the commission on the winterizing utility forum, which we started prior to this with in St. Louis, in Lee May, in the city and the county, where we got together and helped about 1,500 people per every other day. So we were able to help them. After that we started doing the webinars now, where we have spent at least $400,000 to $500,000 in 4 hours helping people. My object is to do what I need to do to honor my mom and my auntie by helping people. And when I hear these stories, I too am on Social Security, and we all have problems because being old is not for the faint in heart. So you have a lot of challenges. But one of the things I find that's worked for me is working with the utilities on my end and telling them how we feel about programs. There are a lot of good programs that they have that are helping people. And when people say in the room, and I love you all and I appreciate your passion, and while I can agree with some things and disagree with others, you can get help. The LIHEAP is one way to get help. That's not my favorite program, but there are programs like Heat Up St. Louis, where we do things like sausage and egg biscuits with Hardee's. That's a couple of $100,000. The city, the county, all over Missouri, there's different funding sources. HUD, for instance, is one of our sponsors that we work with. So I really want people, from my perspective, to get help. Nothing that we can do to, well, what I say without insulting anybody, there's nothing we can do to really make gigantic changes. But if we work together, where neighbors are helping neighbors, where we're working with the Public Service Commission, where we're working with Ameren, Inspire, and so forth, we can make a difference. One of the things we've done now is with the National Weather Bureau, sir. We are working with them on climate change. We do know every time, because we get it on when the phones ring, the hotline ring, and all of the online go crazy, is that climate change is hurting the industry, it's hurting us, it's hurting everybody in this room. Climate change includes the extreme weather conditions. The usage of your utilities go up. So if you think you have a rate that's not affordable, you're gonna have a problem doing climate change and some other things. So all I'm here is to tell you that I know another side of the utility companies that I work with. I know the men and the women the rank and file who are making the difference, and I'm very concerned about reliability of service. I think that's very critical. In our own neighborhoods, we're going through this where it's gone up tremendously because there's new buildings and there's new projects and so forth and so on. So you have to work together to work out these solutions. And I think what the public service does now is that they are trying to blend this together to come up with something. And I want to tell you something, everybody, you probably will stone me, but I would prefer having a profitable utility company than one that isn't profitable, because we know what happened in California. I want to make sure that infrastructure, that's what I'm concerned about, infrastructure safety, delivery of infrastructure, that is my heart. And I want to make sure that when things happen, that they don't cause people to die. I don't think they will cause people any injuries. So that's what I think about when I look at the California, what happened to them. When they went the opposite way, you see the fires, and you know some of the problems they're having out there. Because I think it's important that we do invest in infrastructure. I'd rather have a healthy utility company than a weak one, because just like Aspire, I worked with those guys in the neighborhood when they were doing this. You gave them the ability to do the exchanges of the pipes. So I worked with my neighborhood, and we worked with them. We had very, very concerns about the safety, but when it boils down to it, I'm for the safety of the public and people. And I want them to get utility assistance, whether they get it from heatupstlouis.org or wherever. There is funds available. And from the Ameren perspective, we do work with Ameren to get utilities. We would like to have a lot more money now that I know they're making all that money. So other than that, being a little facetious, we do work, and we say it's about neighbors helping neighbors. Anything we can do, we're here to help and advocate, and we don't sit back and let people tell us what they think. We tell Ameren, Inspire, and everybody what we think, and oftentimes they do listen.
And thank you. I just want to tell you before I lose it, I have a very good staff that works with me, and I can give you that email address to send your exhibits to if you would like that right now.
Do you want to go?
No, we have one just for exhibits.
Okay, for exhibits. Okay.
And that would be exhibits@psc.mo.gov.
psc.mo.gov. And the exhibits don't have, I mean, I ad-libbed this, so the exhibits would be the whole thought process that we weren't allowed to discuss, right? When we submit the exhibit, it doesn't have to be the exact same thing that I just said?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I will look it over, and if it's appropriate, I will have it admitted as Exhibit 4. Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Trotter. I'll let you go a little bit over. I apologize to everybody else for that.
Okay, thank you.
Carol Russell. Ms. Russell, would you please? Oh.
Carol Russell, Russell.
And Ms. Russell, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the comments you're about to offer to the Commission are the truth?
I do.
Please go ahead.
Okay. I know we've heard a lot about the cost and how it's going to affect customers, but Ameren said that we have lower costs than nationwide, but we are not average in income. We're 34th in income across the United States. And our rates of pay are not increasing to keep up with inflation. The utility costs in Missouri have outpaced the rates of inflation. I was unable to find a number of how many people in Missouri applied for assistance in paying their utility bills, but 166,000 customers are behind on their Ameren bills. And in 9 months in 2024, 90,025 customers had their electric disconnected. This seems outrageous when you're paying your CEOs $9 million and asking us to pay more per month. You've heard a lot about the cost. Everybody knows about that. But what I haven't heard about is who is appointing the public service commissioners. The governor appoints these people. And Ameren, Missouri spent $215,000 donated to the American Dream PAC to support Mike Kehoe for governor, and another $51,000 directly to his campaign after he announced he was running for the governor. So I want to know, how is this not a conflict in interest that the Ameren is paying for the governor's race to be influenced? They paid $0 to Mike Kehoe's opponent, Crystal Quaid, who happens to have a 100% rating from the Sierra Club for clean energy. I feel like this is a conflict of interest that corporations with a monopoly can fund a politician's campaign, and those same politicians get to appoint the Public Service Commission, who is in charge of the rate increases. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for those comments. Those are all the people that I have signed up to speak at this point in time. I know there's only a handful of people left, and it is running a little late, but at this time, if there's anybody who would like to make additional comments, I will be more than happy to take those. Is there anybody who would like to make comments? Ms. Villa, have you already commented?
I have. This is more of a request. Since this has become a rather important meeting for consumers, I would love to see whoever plans the next meeting to get a larger venue and a place that has ideal parking. We have people parked all around here, people that left because they didn't have the ability to park and walk in. So that's just a commentary, nothing really you have to put on the record. I just think this has become more of an expansive issue than it used to be, and people are more informed now, so they want to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Villa, this is the first, I've been to public hearings where there are 0 attendees. I've been where there are 4. And it really depends on the case, largely. Rate cases tend to attract more people to local public hearings, but this is the first time that we've directed the company to send out a text message, and it seemed to have more of a response than we expected. But I certainly agree with you that there need to be more chairs
Yes.
and more
It
parking.
was very surprising.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Coleman, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Sure. Thank you, Judge. Thank you all for lasting with us today. I know that you got here before noon to be a part of the question and answer phase, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the information that you've given us. I, Chair Hahn, and our other commissioners on the phone will seriously take into consideration the information that you have given us today. Do know that your comments are appreciated. We listen to you, we hear you, and we will be taking your testimony into consideration. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay. I'm going to say briefly that if you knew someone who is not able to be present today, who wanted to make a comment to the commission, or if you get home and you decide later there was something very important that you did not get to tell us, you can make written comments by contacting the email address pscinfo@psc.mo.gov, by contacting the Office of the Public Counsel. They've been very gracious about seeing that comments get to us, or by going to the PSC's webpage, and there is a link to leave comments on cases. If you're going to leave a comment about a case through the PSC webpage link, you will need to know the case number. It is easy to look up, but it is ER-2024-0319. I commend you all for showing up today. Thank you so much. And we will go off the record. This hearing is now adjourned.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.